This is Dave Monk, your Prairie Monk, WEFT, Champaign 90.1 on your FM dial.
And Dave on the board.
Dave on the board. So, quite a few things to say today. I've been to meetings, trust meetings. But first of all, I want to say something about the Kickapoo Trail. The governor has given through the Department of Natural Resources, through the Champaign Forest Preserve, $200,000 for the development of the first 6 miles of the Kickapoo Trail from Urbana to St. Joe. That's only a very small amount of the total, which they're thinking will be somewhere in the range of 10 to 12 million. And CCDC, the Champaign County Design and Conservation Foundation, along with the Forest Preserve and the Vermilion County Conservation District, will be setting forth fundraising for objective in the initial stages of $2 million to gradually move east to Danville. It will probably not start immediately because there needs to be planning, there needs to be master planning, and then there needs to be some contractual things, and I hope that that would include contractual work for assessment of the nature and the habitat and the prairie along the bed, some of it which is already covered with forest that may have to come out if we're wanting to preserve the prairie. That was very pleasing to know. It's in Friday's paper if some of you want to look it up, on the front page. Also given was about $50,000 also to the Champaign Forest Preserve. The Champaign County Forest Preserve has a couple of nice lots in the Mahomet area, and eventually they're trying to join those with a trail, so they get $50,000 for that. Let me see my notes here. Well, I think what I wanted to say was that the trail will give us connectivity between towns. That gives the towns some upgrade. You start to have bicycle shops, restaurants, people can stay in motels. So this is a huge benefit to the economics of the area, apart from the habitat and the recreational opportunity. The governor was quick to say that this is an advantage to exercise. It's a safe way of exercising, and we do have health issues that he is also concerned about. Mark Miller, the director of the Department of Natural Resources, was also saying something similar. In many cases, we have a trail authority which allows other people, other than the functional forest preserves, which have a tax base and in perpetuity. We have other groups, including farmers who have not gotten the land that they were hoping to get, who may want to be involved. Of interest to us as Heartland Pathways is that we initiated the project in 1996, so it's a long time ago, and we had to do probably about 20 years of work before that to have the wherewithal, the knowledge to offer to buy the line through the Rail Banking Act and interim trail use. So this is an interim trail use line. It can go back to railroading, probably won't go back to railroading in 50 or 100 years, so you'll have a use for it as a trail. But if somebody wanted to put in a factory in the middle of this corridor, then the railroads have the right to come back in. The advantage to the Heartland Pathways or any other body that is interested in habitat, trails, and re-rail is that the titles, which are various for railroad beds, are quieted. That helps prevent you from having a blockage in the middle of a 25-mile rail bed. They save the bridges, one of which is 160 feet off the ground and a quarter mile long. And it also gives you money not to buy the line. The two forest preserves, Forest Preserve and the Conservation District, have had to put in $600,000 each to buy the line, and that's about its appraisal price. And CSX, which now owns the line, is taking a write-off for what it figures is more than a typical appraisal price, like the value for potential transportation, for instance. So they can come back in, but they're also getting a tax write-off. So that was pleasing to us, and also the Mahomet area along the Sangamon, connecting natural areas there and pathways is very helpful. Let me see. The biggest cost will be to make the bridge, which is very high and very dangerous in near Danville, safe for people to use with bicycles and footwear, and to be able to look over the nearby river. That will probably in itself cost about $2 million. Some people don't realize that Heartland Pathways has been involved, so I have had contact with the Surface Transportation, and I have the documentation of when Heartland Pathways first conceived of the idea and put it into action by signing the interim trail use agreement between Surface Transportation, which is a federal transportation body, Conrail, which at the time owned the line, and Heartland Pathways. CCDC, after we had proselytized every possible agency to try and do this with existing agencies, no one wanted to do it. But after the fact, CCDC decided that this was a tremendous idea and they'd like to take over, and did, but they didn't get the money that needed to buy from Conrail, so CSX bought it, and then CSX wanted an arm and a leg for the corridor. So that's the negotiation has been going on. And one of the key people in this is George Belovic, who is the Bicycle Way and Greenway person in the Department of Natural Resources, and the Urbana Park District and Tim Bartlett have been key people in working this project through. This is one of several situations in which Heartland Pathways has initiated something and then is very dependent on other agencies to take over and do the functional work. So we become the initiators or the conceivers of ideas, but then we have to get some recognition for that, because in order to get those ideas, to run the corridors, to know the people, to know the agencies that might take over. It's costly, and we have to have supporters to do that. And if those supporters don't get some credentials for having initiated the process, we're in bad shape. So we do need to be a part of the recognition of this whole process. Excuse me. I did want to say something about going to the Prairie State Conservation Coalition meetings at Starved Rock. This is a group of people who own land and have to deal with its invasion sometimes, its taxation in others, and its legislative specialty. So about 7 years ago, Fran Harty and others brought together a number of us who own land and do not know all the details of how you preserve it. So this meeting was partly a workshop to tell us how to do these things, or to direct us in the right direction, and how to market the idea, how to see that if people are donating tax-based material to you, how they get to write it off in a legal fashion, how you meet the rules of the game for state preservation of open space, and then you wind up at the end of this announcing things that have happened in your territory. One of the most interesting territories is in Galena, the northwest corner of the state, which is unglaciated, but it has had lead as a mining advantage, which has decreased in its activity. So some towns that were big and now not so big. And Chicago, fairly affluent people have gone out to Galena and helped to save natural areas. And so it's been very successful there. So someone like that would make a statement about what they've been doing and who preserves, for instance, the farmers that are there that own land may not be with you to start with, but then as things go along and a tax base is established and this is attracting people, and the farmers eventually are so proud to have their land not just decimated and put into development, but one couple was reported to have gone to the top of the hill where they've owned the land for 6 generations and actually cried when they realized that this land will go into in perpetuity and other people will get to see over the river. And so reporting of those sorts of things is helpful. I'll deal with this some more in a different situation. We're very lucky to have one other thing I wanted to say is Farmer City has an antique show on. It's not in the best of weather, folks, so it's not crowded when I went yesterday, but getting to know your local communities and getting to know your history and your antiques and looking at old equipment and talking to people is very, very helpful. It gives you history. And I wanted to also say that Starved Rock is near where canals used to come through from Chicago to the Illinois River so that you could join the Michigan Great Lakes with the New Orleans. And there's a whole history about that. So while I was there, I just did a quick run past some of the canal areas. They're all frozen at the moment. So I took a few photographs, but that's another topic that we can get into. And then once they'd established that connection, they also established a connection between the Illinois River and the Quad Cities, which made a cutoff so that you didn't have to go way around by southern Illinois to get back up to Minnesota or other places that are on the Mississippi. So to get from the Illinois River to the Mississippi River was difficult. You have to understand that there was also an Erie Canal that brought you from New York to the Great Lakes. This canal event eventually lost out to railroads, and so those areas are closed now, but bigger and better shipping canals have been established and open and used, especially the Illinois and Mississippi rivers. Yeah, so we're introducing Iris. Iris is a very anglicized name. And I want you to say something about your real name and where you come from. And give us an idea of who you are. And you have to talk into the microphone some, so your side face will be seen. We're dealing with video. So Iris is an intern. She's come to WEFT to see if she can get experience with radio. And she's a journalist. She's doing a journalism study. And she comes from southern China. And I wanted to say something to you a little bit about China, but she's also been traveling to South Africa. So we'll do a little bit about that too. So I'll let you take over and tell me a little bit about yourself and what you're doing and what you want to do.
Okay. Hi, everyone. I'm Iris. My Chinese name is Ouyang Xianyan. And
Say that again sort of slowly.
Ouyang Xianyan.
Okay. And what does it mean?
Ouyang is my family name, and most of the Chinese just their family name just have has one character, but mine has two, and then it's kind of like special. And Xian means a kind of like a special plants in China. Like it means that it can make you forget all the worries and make you happy like forever. And then Yan means beautiful. And these two characters come from a poem, a Chinese poem. Yeah, and then Xian also means like warm from the sunshine. So I mean,
yes, and all tied up in cuneiform language. And also you have an intonation too. So sometimes when we say I, we might be able to say I.
Yeah.
I. Oh,
Yeah, I know.
You use the intonations where we don't do that. So it's really hard for us to hear your name,
Yeah.
your real name. So that's why you use a practical name like Iris. Why did you choose Iris?
Because I like flowers, and I also know that there's a story in the Bible, right, that says Iris is kind of a goddess named Iris.
Okay, so that's also got a...
And Iris also means rainbow. So I love they have it has like several meanings.
So when did you choose this? Before you left China? Or?
Yeah, before I left China.
Okay. So you have been in university in China?
Yeah. Actually, I come from Foshan City, Guangdong Province in South China. And then I went to North China, one of the universities in Shandong Province. And then after my 2 years in my university, I began to think that maybe I should study abroad, because I was majoring in advertising before, and I think I'm really interested in journalism instead of advertising, because I think advertising just to gain more clients, they can do like not do everything, like say anything, even it's a lie. But to journalists, we need to tell the truth, so it's really different. I don't want to lie, so.
Okay, you don't want to convince something in an untoward
Yeah,
manner.
yeah.
And you're also a people person, I think. You interact with other people.
Yeah.
And journalism lets you do that. So tell us a little bit about how far are you from Hong Kong, for instance, if you're in southern China?
I'm not from Hong Kong.
No, I know that. But how far are you away from
Okay,
Hong Kong?
like
200 miles or?
I don't know the exact number, but if I like
Kilometers?
I I don't know. I'm not sure. Like 2 hours.
Ah, okay. That gives us an idea that you're inland a little bit. You're not sitting on
No,
the
inland.
Pacific Island. You're inland.
Yeah.
So what was different between where you lived and where you went to study, north and the south? Did you find that it was different culturally? Or?
Yeah. So I think in economic aspect, South China is like richer than North China, but there are some like exceptions, like Beijing, our capital city, and I think the languages are different because I speak like 4 languages, and I speak Cantonese in my hometown. But when I went to like North China, I have to speak Mandarin, so it's different.
That's good. So you keep telling people a little bit more about yourself.
Okay, so I major in broadcast journalism. I'm working for our university's yearbook and the only online magazine named The Spread. Uh, I like to eat. I like to taste different cuisines. This is one of my favorite. So,
Uh-huh. Okay, that's good. So what inspired you to go to South Africa?
because I wanted to do some volunteer work there last summer. No, the first summer, I when I go back to China, but because my first year here, I did not go back to China during the winter because the flight ticket is so expensive. It costs about $2,000.
Yes.
So it's too expensive, and I think maybe I should like stay in U.S. because the holiday is just like 20 days. So, and my parents were worried about me, so I did not go there that summer. So this winter, they also the study abroad office. They also have such a program in South Africa, and I think I can do volunteer work there. I can also like get some credit hours for my graduation. So and it study inequality in South Africa. So I minor in sociology. I think in the future I will be a reporter, and I care more about this people's life and equality, minority. Uh, yeah.
Yes. You went to Cape Town, I think.
Yeah.
And most of the African population is to the east and north.
Mm.
So tell us a little bit about Cape Town.
Cape Town.
I'll tell you a little bit about my mother. Came to Australia via Cape Town. So the boat stopped at Cape Town.
Okay.
And then they had to go to Australia. So I come from Australia, but I know Cape Town just from what my mother used to tell me.
Okay. So like before I start this, can I like say goodbye to you? Like cause I have a friend comes from South Africa. He's on the train now, and he's like going back to another state, and later he will go back to South Africa. Can I like say goodbye to him?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. Okay.
This is on the air, you want it?
Yeah.
Yes.
So
Is
because
this someone you met in South Africa or
no.
met here?
No, no, we met in South Africa, but like we there are like 14 students in a study abroad program, and we have 2 volunteers. They were unpaid, but they just like help us and stay with us or about for 2 weeks.
Oh, so there were several of you that went to South Africa at the same time?
Yeah,
Ah, the team.
yeah.
And what did you do?
What I just we discuss with some people from some organizations, discuss about the inequality and segregation and apartheid, and then we also like kind of like travel,
Yes.
and then we do some volunteer work. We donated some stuff to the children, and we also went to the cave flats. That's the slums.
Uh-huh.
So.
And what did you, when you volunteered, what did you do?
We just hang out with the children's and donate stuff
Okay.
and money to
So it
them.
was an interaction
Yeah.
rather than you didn't. We have groups of people here who go to Africa and they put in toilets and water facilities and things like that. They do a lot of physical work.
Mm.
So you weren't doing physical work, you were doing social work
Okay.
with the groups.
Okay.
How long did you stay?
2 weeks.
2 weeks. You can do a lot in 2 weeks. It's amazing sometimes.
We found that we don't have enough time because there are so many like beautiful beaches and different wildlife. We did not go to visit.
So did you go swimming?
Kind of, but I mean, I cannot swim. I don't know how to swim, so it's really a pity for me.
I'm in this Australia where I could surf. I could get a wave
Oh,
and paddle, and you could go off onto the surf,
mm.
and you'd rub your chest up against the sand, and so it was kind of fun. So I didn't ask you, but in southern China, do you have snow and ice just like we're having now?
I think in several provinces, snow, but in my province, I don't think so.
In South Africa, you didn't have
No.
either. So did you have rain? Is that
Yeah,
okay?
it rains a lot, I think.
So now when you come back, are you studying about Africa?
You mean
In
come
your
back to
social-
UFI?
Yes, at the U of I.
I don't know. I have planned like I want to do more fundraising when I like go back to America, but I haven't started yet.
Uh-huh. The trust that I was working with was very caring about fundraising. They made a triangle.
Mm.
At the bottom of the triangle were people where they had just made an initial contact.
Mm.
And then next level was more sophisticated. And up you go to the very top.
Mm.
And these different groups get different treatment. If you have someone giving you $5,000, then you should run field trips.
Mm.
Tell them what you're doing. Have them to broadcast. And so there was this pyramid. So marketing people, your advertising will help.
Mm.
They also said a lot about giving gifts that are meaningful. If you're doing some land preservation, as we're doing, to give a copy of the plan that you're going to work with. Take them to that place. So yes, so these are the sorts of things that you will be concerned about.
Mm.
Mhm. So do you have brothers and sisters at home?
Yes. The middle child. I have one sister and one brother.
Uh-huh. And will they be coming
I-
to another country?
I think in the future maybe my brother will, but because my sister, I think both of them, neither of them is good at English, so maybe they will not.
Okay, so yes, that's essential.
Actually, I'm the first one to go studying abroad in my family.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, so I mean, so many generations, I'm the only one now.
Yes, it's something the same in my family.
Hmm.
You didn't have people with degrees. Like. But, Brett Pugh, who's my key computer nerd, came in with a gift. And this is, we're looking at a South African flag, And you won't be seeing it on the air, but can you describe it? Do you know what what it is? There's a big Y in green, and then the V of the Y is filled with black, and then there's red on the side of the Y and blue on the side of the Y, and I don't know the ethnicity of this. But do you know? No.
Not really.
Yeah, but I'll hold it up so our video cameras can see it, so that's a different population of people. And
I'm sure that we can find a copy of the flag online so we can drop one into the video so that folks can tune in this Friday at 1 or next Tuesday at 6 o'clock. They can see the flag in the
That's
video
sort of
version.
what we're hoping to do with Iris, is to have her take this program, record it. David's got it recorded. It's being filmed at the moment. We take that chip next door, and we would like to give you a copy of this program so you can drop pictures into it.
Yeah.
Either we can do it on our computers, which are not so good, or you can take it to the university
The lab.
lab and get help to do that. And that's part of your experience. In the future, you might want to do a program with WEFT, which is teaching people how to use the equipment. And so then we would have you on the other side of the table running the board. And you could have fun doing that. So this is an experience.
Yeah, I'm
for
so
you.
excited.
So, so, do you move out into the community here? Do you go to Danville, or do you stay mainly in the university? Sometimes we find people coming from overseas, and they stay in this little context, and they go home, and they only know this little portion of us.
No, I went traveling. For this spring break, I'm also planning like to travel to like a Puerto Rico.
Puerto Rico. Oh,
Puerto Rico, yeah.
Oh, wow. Yes, very interesting. Puerto Rico would somewhat like to be independent.
I mean the cuisine, the
Oh,
food
food.
is very delicious there.
I was interested in Puerto Rico. They tend to have paella, which is a food, if I remember rightly, where you take the intestines of a pig and put things into them. And so sometimes the food is quite different. And they have a Spanish background, so some people are very Castellanian, very strict Spanish people. And some people are very loose Spanish people. So within Puerto Rico, you get a difference. So this will be part of the university's program.
Yeah.
So you'll go
I'll
with other
just
people.
by myself, yeah. Or
Oh.
well, no, not by myself, like with my friends.
And so are they an ethnic mix also? Are they from different cultures?
Usually I go traveling like with my friends from China because like we have the same taste for the food. So we eat the same food, like we like to eat Asian food. But if we go with Americans or like from people from other countries, we have to like eat a burger all the time. Cause I went to Washington. It's also a dormitory like a program. So we cause I live in learning living community. So the students leave our floor can apply for that program, and then we go together. So we both my roommate and me were selected. Then we just went to Washington with other American students, and then we need to eat like McDonald's or and pizza.
We have a common market that is alternative, and they try to encourage farmers to produce vegetables locally instead of having to ship them in from other countries. We're concerned about pollinators and insects that do good as well as eat your vegetables, but there are pockets within the framework. We don't always have to eat McDonald's or
Oh.
there are other things that you can do that are interesting. So are you at this stage thinking to go back home when you've finished your studies?
You mean after my graduation, or?
Yes.
I think I will apply for a graduate school, maybe in US or in UK. I'm going to study abroad in UK this summer. Last night is the deadline of the application. I don't know.
You wrote out the application last
Yeah,
night.
yeah.
Very good. Whereabouts in England would you go?
London.
London. Oh, wow. All my relatives are in England
Really?
because my name is Monk, and that seems to be something that's Scandinavian, and it went across the English Channel, and then somehow we got to Australia.
Oh.
I know where my mother came from. She came from London.
Mm.
She's Cockney. She got a bit of bread. And they migrated to Australia. But my father's family, I'm not sure about. London is a very dense place.
Dense.
Very palatial too. It has palaces and it has the royalty that is different. So I think that might be an interesting place to be. The Australians go there and then they work in England, but then they go over to Europe and spend their money in Europe
Oh.
and find out they can do 2 days and into Paris and things like that.
Mm.
And Australia actually has quite a few immigrants from Europe, especially from World War I and World War II.
Mm.
Okay. Well, I was thinking about locally. Do you get out and see the community? Do you know?
Yes.
Sometimes I wonder if somebody leaves here and they don't know the difference between corn and soybeans. So
I know.
I encourage them out. So one of the things that I do is take people to little places. So yesterday I went to an antique show. So you talk to the people and you find out interesting things, where they come from. I have a list of where they come from. They come from Indiana, Ohio, all sorts of different places. How do you find out about what this instrument was? So people who have tools are very fantastic. There was a tool that looked like an extended hammer, and it had a little place on it. You could put a nail in the hammer and reach up high and put a notice up. And then you could take the hammer apart and you could use it as a hammer to tack the notice on the wall. And that piece of equipment is very old, so it probably sells for about $200. But unique in a different era. So when you go out of town, can you go to my little communities and talk to them?
Yeah.
And
I would
find
like
out
to.
about them? And
Yeah.
can we go to China and find out about
Yes,
you?
of course.
So tell us a little bit more about your hometown.
My hometown?
Are you in town or are you out of town? Are you agriculturalists? Do you farm? How do you fit in your community?
I think because Guangdong province is kind of more developed than other districts in China.
Okay.
And then my hometown, I live in a district named Shunde. And then I think the city is not, the district is not like a big city, but it's also not poor. I mean, people, they have much money, but they will not show off.
Yes, okay.
I think that's one of the major reasons that my father chose to move to that area.
Do you have railroad lines? It seems to me, I go to railroad seminars. And there are a lot of Asian people at seminars, a lot of Chinese people there, because you've been putting in fast tracks, trains that move at 200 mile an hour.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And so I get to know people from that setting, but they're mostly engineers. So do you have fast railroads in your area?
Yes, we have.
And do you have agriculture? What is being carried on? The fast trains are for people only. Do you have freight trains too? That take freight is where you put corn in a truck and move it.
You mean subway? No? What's
Well, if you're a farmer, you produce something. It might be wheat or corn or
Yeah.
apples or what have you.
When I think in there's like a difference between North China and South China. In North China, the people mainly grow wheat, but in North China, rice.
Okay.
Rice is the most important in agriculture.
In
I think.
South China is right.
South China,
Yeah.
rice.
So you grow up with mud fields. If you walk into a rice field, it will be irrigated with water.
Yeah, but I think in modern China, most of the kids are like, especially my friends around me, have grown up in cities. But I spent my childhood in countryside, so I'm really appreciate that I can spend my childhood in countryside.
Okay.
So we just grow different plants and flowers, and go fishing, and yeah, I like it very much.
So you have canals with water in them, and the fish are in the canals, or the fish are in the rivers?
In the rivers.
Okay.
I could not swim, but I just jump into the water and then
You can learn to swim. It's very good to be able to swim.
yeah.
In Australia, if you're in school, you have to learn how to swim.
Really? It's required?
Yes.
Okay.
And so Australia is dry in many cases, but still most people know how to swim. And if a lot of the immigrant boats that are coming from Malaysia or Indonesia trying to get into Australia are people that don't swim, so they can't support themselves. So if their ship is overloaded and they go down, they drown. So you should learn how to swim.
Yeah, I want to learn.
Yeah, it's very good exercise. So what's the time? We've got 20 minutes. Let me talk a little bit about canals. I don't know whether China has canals, but we have a Midwest that was hard to get to. First of all, you had to come from New York and you had to go up over the Appalachian Mountains. And then you had to come down into the Midwest. And it's very rich because of the glacial material that came from Canada. And it grows good crops. So early on, if you grew corn, you couldn't transport your corn easily because you were doing it with a horse and cart. So you transposed it into whiskey. So you carted whiskey to town.
Oh.
That upset a lot of people who don't like alcohol. But that was a way of selling your product. Gradually, they put in canals. There weren't any railroads yet. So the canals have to go up over a mountain. So you go here, and then you have a lock, and that lets the ship rise up to a different level, and then you have another lock, and you go over the mountain, and then you have to go down the other side. So we had a canal that came through to the Great Lakes. Then you were in Chicago, and very early our explorers observed that the Great Lakes were very close to the Illinois River, which takes you down to New Orleans. So they put in a canal system, the Illinois-Michigan Canal, that went up over a range and down the other side. And they didn't exactly know how to do this, so it was experimental. How wide do you make your ship? How do you move your ship? Well, the first thing they would do is they put ponies or horses on a towpath, and they pulled your boat along by horse and cart. Then later they would get tugs that would pull, and eventually they'd get towboats that push. Well, that got them through various towns that developed, and that would give them access to coal and lead and zinc and other things that weren't available elsewhere. So that system was in action probably starting about 1830, and it was still in action around the Civil War about 1860. And it had its moments because railroads were coming in, and railroads could get there quicker and fast. So the canals became somewhat obsolete, and then they become tourist places where you could get onto a tourist boat and travel on the you know that at that time, say about the 1840s, 50s, you didn't have cars. You had horses. You could take a tourist boat from Chicago to Starved Rock, which is a rock formation which is quite interesting, where we met this last week. And you could take and look over a dam and a lock which allowed the shipping to move. That also eventually was replaced by railroads, which could get 200 miles in much less time than if you were on a boat. The boats moved at like walking pace. If you had a horse or a pony or a donkey, you can't expect the donkey to move much faster than that. And the donkey has to be rested every so often. So you would have livery stables where the donkeys could eat and sleep and rejuvenate. And all these things are now historic. So I've been reading a book about these sorts of things. So when I ask you questions about are you seeing local things, one of the things I would ask you would, have you encountered canals like this that are historic? Do you know how farmers farm their properties? No. So I'm encouraging you as someone from overseas, excuse me, to look at these little things, to walk around the street and know where the bricks came from, to know that in Champaign County you can go to a community that is almost all Germanic, and you can go to another part of the community which is almost all Scandinavian, and another part of the community that is all Irish. And can you get to know these people? And some of these people have merged, so they're polyglots. Yeah. So you may be part Chinese and part German and part Indian. And how do you find your history? Can you go to a city meeting? And you've just been invited to a city meeting, I think.
Yeah, I went to the Champaign City Council before because I major in journalism, and we we need to report that. So yeah,
Uh-huh. Well, that is an experience to know each one of those counselors
yeah,
and to be able to talk to them and say, I have a huge pothole outside my place. Can you do something about it? So, yes. So, what I'm getting at is that I was at Starved Rock, and I'm very near to the canals. So, I can't possibly be at that location without I go and find out about Australia. So I'm encouraging you to do that too.
yeah,
Because sadly, I think some people come from overseas and they don't get to know.
yeah. I mean,
Uh,
because there are so many international students at UFI, and I think many international students just hang out with their friends from their home country, and they speak the language.
Yes.
So, I mean, some of them not do not speak English that often, I think.
Well, you can do things with mathematics and engineering where you don't need
Yeah,
a lot
you
of
don't need
language. But still, if you're going to drive a vehicle and you're going to drive an old vehicle because you don't have a lot of money and it's got lots of power, then you need to know how to read the signs. And so this trail that we've been talking about to Danville is the sort of trail which will allow you to ride a bicycle
Oh,
for 25 miles. And as you go along, you'll find a farmhouse or a little town or some prairie. And we want you to find out what a prairie is. I have a phone call and I'm going to cut it off.
Why don't I jump in here really, really quickly? I'm very interested to know, were you in China when the Olympics came there? And if you were, what was the Chinese experience? You know, how did the Chinese take to the Olympics? What did it mean to them?
you mean 2008 Olympic
Yes,
Games?
the Beijing Games.
Okay, I did not go to Beijing because Beijing is really crowded, and it's far away from my hometown. But I think we were proud of this because we think that although we have a large population, but we can still grow that fast. And I think, but to some extent, I think Chinese are not that concerned about sports as Americans. But I think that opportunity motivated us to do more sports. And before that time, like in schools, teachers will tell you more about sports and or some activities or events for the 2008 Olympic Games. And I think because of these Olympic Games, there are so many tourists or athletes coming from different countries. It also stimulates our economy.
Yes.
You mentioned, sorry, Dave, I'm going to jump in with a follow-up question here. So you mentioned about how fast, this showed how fast the economy can grow. One of the things that Americans comment on is, okay, sure, China may be growing in leaps and bounds, but it's largely by way of, for example, coal power and things like that. Are there many people in China that wish that there was less growing and more concern about the environment as they grow, and make more the country more of a green environment? You know, certain progress is really good, but are there also people who really wish that there was more concern for the rest of the world at the same time?
Okay, I think you just mentioned what I want to say, because I read a report on Chicago Tribune like 2 days ago. They spent 5 pages, and the front page, the most obvious side for this Chinese air pollution. And also like 3 or 4 days ago, a Chinese man sued the government that they had not done enough for the environment. So that is the first case in our history. So I think what should I say? Like, I think it depends. Like, for different interest groups, if you have enough money and you are rich, then you may want to the government contribute more to the environment. But for people in countryside, because there are still many poor people in China, I think they might want more economic profits, I think.
Sure.
But in big cities, I think I talked to my roommate like Friday night, and we, because international students always discuss whether should I go back to China or not, or stay in US. So I just told my roommate that I think the most issue that I think China stops me from going back, it's the air.
Uh-huh.
Well, it's also a very active country. I was going to come for 1 year and go away, but I've stayed for a long, long time. And there are many people with many ideas, and you can bounce off them. So some people don't go home because they have gotten into this atmosphere where they can exchange ideas and be interested. And if they went home, they may be way out in the middle of nowhere and not be able to interact quite the same way. You're in the US, women have gotten to be doing things they have never done before. In the last 30 years, they have made lots and lots of progress. So when you talk about sports, are women doing sports?
Yes.
Do you do sport?
Yes, but not so much, I think.
What do you play or do?
I think ping pong.
Oh,
and
yes.
Badminton,
Uh-huh.
running.
Actually, ping pong can be very full of exercise. I've watched some of those games. You're a little all over the place.
Yeah.
So, and it also has to do with your mind to beat people, and there's a psychology there. So,
A minute and a half.
okay, I think we will hope that you can come and get on Dave's side of the board, work the board. We hope that you might be able to take this program and drop a picture or two in.
Yeah.
It might be that you go to public television, so we have to render. And so we'll take the chip from this camera and put it up and give you a copy. And then you might not have time to put more than, say, 3 pictures in, because we like to see you and see what we're talking about.
Yeah.
So a picture may or may not be appropriate. Then we'd like to see you put it up into television. And it's already streamed, so somebody can listen to us around the world. And then we want to put it up to YouTube. And the real advantage of YouTube is that you can stop the program and put in quite a lot of information that you might have on your hard drive. And then you can start the program again. And it's also available at any time to anyone. And that includes local people. So we're hoping that you will be able to do that with us or with your journalism programs. And we're very pleased to have you here.
Yeah, I'm glad to be here.
And thank you for coming. So we're very near to the time.
That's it. That's all, folks.
So this is Dave Monk, your Prairie Monk, WEFT Champaign. And
Dave on the board.
And we want to say something that was said at the meeting was, you should know our webpage. We should put that on the video. Web pages are very important. They give you backup information. So we should put our webpage on this program. So thank you.
Sure, and we'll really quickly mention, for those who are actually not planning to see the video and are just listening, that if you don't already know, WEFT.org, that's where our website is. Whoops, one more second. Let's go back to Iris one more time.
Okay, so I just want to say goodbye to Miles. Thank you for helping us in South Africa. Goodbye.